There are breakfasts that feel like a recipe, and breakfasts that feel like a place. Today I want to take you straight to the northeast of Brazil, to that early morning kitchen where the air is still cool, the light is soft, and the first thing you hear is water heating up and a pot being set on the stove. No rush, no spectacle. Just something simple that shows up on countless tables, day after day: steamed northeastern Couscous. If you've never had it before, don't picture couscous the way it's known in other parts of the world. This one is made from cornflake meal, what Brazilians call floqueio. It's humble, comforting, and quietly nutritious. Naturally gluten-free, filling without being heavy, and perfect for those mornings when you want real food that keeps you going. And the best part is how little it needs. We're using only 3 basics: floqueio, water, and salt. That's it. No fancy twist, no secret ingredient, no big reveal at the end. The magic here is in the method, in doing one small step that many people skip, and that mistake changes everything. In a minute, I'll show you how I mix the flakes with water and salt until it looks like damp sand in my hands. Then we let it rest for 10 minutes. That pause matters. It's not waiting for nothing. It's the corn hydrating, softening, preparing to steam into something light and fluffy instead of dry and crumbly. While it rests, I'll introduce you to the Couscous, the traditional steamer used across Brazil. It's simple: water at the bottom, the couscous on top, steam doing the work. 10 minutes of steaming later, you open the lid and there it is, set, warm, fragrant, ready to be broken apart and served. And served how? The classic way is the best way: a little butter melting into the heat, or a piece of grilled queijo colho on the side, squeaky and salty, turning breakfast into something quietly special. Before we start, tell me, have you ever tried Brazilian couscous, or is this your first time seeing it? And if you enjoy recipes that carry culture with them, stay with me and subscribe, because after we get the basics perfect, you'll start noticing how many Brazilian stories begin right here, at the breakfast table. Now, let's hydrate that floqueio the right way. On a quiet morning in the northeast of Brazil, the kitchen doesn't need much to feel full. There's usually a little light coming in through a window, the sound of a spoon against a bowl, and that familiar smell of something warm being made without hurry. That's where steamed couscous lives. Not as a special recipe, not as a weekend project, but as everyday food, the kind that holds people through long workdays and early starts. Here's the truth: it begins with almost nothing. Cornflake meal, the floqueio you'll find in any Brazilian market, a bit of water, and a pinch of salt. I like to start with the bowl close to me, like I'm making it the way someone taught me, by feel as much as by measurement. The floqueio goes in first, pale yellow and rough, then the salt, and then water little by little. And you don't dump it all at once. You sprinkle, stir, and watch the grains change. At first it looks too dry, then too wet, then suddenly it starts to behave, each flake holding onto moisture like it's waking up. This is the step people rush, and it's the step that decides everything. Hydration. After mixing, you let it rest for 10 minutes. Not because it's fancy, but because corn needs time. Those minutes are where texture is born. Skip it and you'll steam something that turns out heavy, crumbly, uneven, like it never became one thing. Let it hydrate, and the grains soften just enough to lock together while still staying light. While it rests, you can set up the Couscous on the stove. There's water in the bottom, not touching the top section, just ready to send steam up like a gentle engine. When you spoon the hydrated floqueio into the top, don't pack it down. Keep it loose, let it breathe. As the lid goes on, the sound changes. A soft simmer. The promise of steam. If you're enjoying this kind of simple, traditional Brazilian cooking, tap like so I know to bring you more. And tell me, have you ever tasted northeastern couscous before, or would this be your first time? Stay with me, because once the steam starts working, the transformation happens fast. Now, with the kettle warming and the kitchen already smelling like morning, let's talk about what makes this couscous work: floqueio, water, and salt, and the patience to let those cornflakes wake up. I'm pouring the floqueio into a bowl and I'm adding a pinch of salt first, because you want that seasoning distributed before the water hits. Then the water goes in little by little, not all at once. I'm mixing with my fingers, gently rubbing the grains as if I'm loosening sand after rain. You're not trying to make a dough. You're aiming for a damp, crumbly texture that holds together when you squeeze it, but still breaks apart when you touch it. This is the part people rush, and it's also where the whole dish can go wrong. If you skip hydration, the outside steams and sets, but the inside stays dry, gritty, almost dusty. So once it feels evenly moistened, I stop touching it. 10 minutes. Just let it sit. In kitchens across Brazil's northeast, this pause is as normal as putting coffee on. It's quiet, unglamorous, and it's exactly why the final couscous turns out soft and fluffy instead of heavy. While it hydrates, I'm setting up the Couscous. Water in the bottom, not too high, because you want steam, not boiling water touching the corn. The top insert goes on, and when the time is up, I fluff the hydrated floqueo with my fingertips so it doesn't pack too tight. I spoon it in and level it lightly. No pressing down. If you compress it, you'll get a dense brick instead of something that breathes. Listen to the house for a second. The first signs of steam. That gentle rhythm. This is why couscous is a staple. It's simple, it's affordable, it fills you up, and it fits real life. 10 minutes of steaming, and you'll notice the aroma change from raw corn to something toasted and sweet. If this is the kind of Brazilian breakfast you want more of, give the video a like so I know to keep bringing these classics. And tell me, have you ever tried couscous before, or is this your first time seeing it done this way? In the next part, we'll open the Couscous and check the texture, the smell, that perfect set, and then serve it the traditional way. Now that the flakes have had those 10 minutes to drink in the water, you can actually feel the difference with your fingers. Before, it was just dry cornmeal, now it's cool, slightly heavier, and when you squeeze a little, it holds together for a second before crumbling back into soft grains. That's exactly what you want. If it still feels dusty, you add a tiny splash more water and mix again, gently, like you're waking it up rather than kneading it. This is the part where a lot of people rush, and it's the part that decides everything. If you skip hydration and go straight to steaming, the heat hits the dry flakes and they harden unevenly. You end up with a couscous that looks cooked but eats like sand in some bites and rubber in others. So I always say, don't fight the 10 minutes. Let the corn do its work. With the hydrated floqueo ready, we move to the Couscous. Mine is the classic aluminum kind you see in so many northeastern kitchens, the same shape that's been sitting on stoves for generations. Water goes in the bottom, not too much, just enough to simmer without touching the steaming basket. When it starts to warm, I spoon the hydrated corn into the top part and level it lightly. No pressing down. If you pack it tight, you block the steam and you lose that fluffy texture. Then the lid goes on and we let it steam for about 10 minutes. You'll hear it before you see it, that soft, steady bubbling underneath, the faint hiss of steam, the kitchen filling with a warm, sweet corn aroma that feels like morning. Halfway through, I like to peek quickly, not to stir, just to make sure the steam is doing its job. The surface should look like it's setting, going from loose grains to a unified cake. And when it's ready, the moment is simple and satisfying. You lift the lid and there it is, firm but light, holding its shape, tender when you touch it. If this is helping you, leave a like so I know you want more Brazilian classics done the traditional way. In the next step, I'll show you how I unmold it cleanly and serve it the way the Northeast loves most, and I want to know, are you team butter melting into the crumbs, or team queijo coalho on the side? And if you're enjoying this kind of practical, cultural cooking, subscribe and come with me to the next bite. Once those 10 minutes of hydration are up, you'll notice the floqueo has changed. It's not wet like batter, and it's not dry like sand anymore either. It looks like damp crumbs, and when you squeeze a little in your hand, it holds together for a second before falling apart again. That's exactly the texture you're looking for. This is the moment people rush past, and it's why their couscous turns out heavy or patchy. Here, we're taking the calm route. Now, the Couscous comes in. If you've never used one, imagine a small, sturdy pot with a steaming chamber on top. Water goes in the bottom, not too much, just enough to create steady steam without touching the couscous. As the water warms, you can already hear the gentle promise, a soft simmer, a quiet kitchen, the kind of sound that says breakfast is on the way. With the heat on medium, I loosely spoon the hydrated corn into the top chamber. Loosely is important. Don't press it down like you're packing a suitcase. If you compact it, the steam can't travel through, and you lose that light, fluffy finish. I level the surface with a light touch, put the lid on, and let it steam for about 10 minutes. While it cooks, you can almost smell the Northeast in it. It's subtle, a warm corn aroma that feels familiar even if you didn't grow up with it. This is the kind of food that shows up on ordinary mornings, before work, before school, before the day gets complicated. Simple ingredients, steady technique, and a result that feels like care. After 10 minutes, I lift the lid carefully, letting the steam escape away from my face. The couscous should look set and puffed, like it rose into itself. I tap the side gently and you'll see it's firm but tender. Then comes the best part, unmolding it onto a plate. It lands like a little golden dome. Right here, if this is the kind of straightforward Brazilian kitchen tradition you enjoy, leave a like so I know to bring more recipes like this. And tell me, do you eat it with butter melting into the crumbs, or do you go for grilled queijo coalho on the side? In the next moment, I'll show you how I serve it the classic way, and why that first bite tells you everything you need to know. And that's it, 3 ingredients, 2 short waits, and you end up with something that feels like it belongs at a real Brazilian breakfast table. When you lift the lid and the steam fades, the couscous should look set but still tender, like it's holding its shape without turning dense. I like to fluff it gently with a fork, letting a little air in, and you can almost hear that soft, dry whisper of grains separating. This is the moment where patience pays off, because the hydration you did earlier is what makes it light instead of tight and crumbly. Now comes the most Brazilian part, serving. If you grew up with this, you already know the routine. A simple pat of butter goes on top while it's still hot, and it melts into the couscous as if it's finding its way home. The smell is warm and familiar, almost like a reminder that breakfast doesn't need to be complicated to be satisfying. And if you want to go classic street grill style, add queijo coalho. That salty, gently browned cheese next to the soft, steamed corn is one of those combinations that feels obvious the second you taste it. What I love about Northeastern couscous is how honest it is. It's naturally gluten-free, it's energy-rich, it's affordable, and it shows up in everyday life not as a trend, but as tradition. In many homes across the Northeast, it's the kind of food that keeps mornings moving, before work, before school, before the heat of the day fully arrives. It's comfort, but it's also practicality. And even if you didn't grow up with it, it has a way of welcoming you in, bite by bite. If this helped you get the texture right, leave a like so more people can find the recipe. And tell me this, what are you most curious about Brazil? A dish, a region, a habit, a story you've heard and want to understand. If you enjoy calm, traditional Brazilian cooking explained clearly, subscribe, because there's a lot more Brazil to taste together.